where Michael Jackson had an absolute, total, and thorough inability to sleep.
I'm here to get justice for Michael Jackson.
Your Honor, I am an innocent man.
He was not an anesthesiologist. He was not board certified in cardiology. Conrad Murray was not board certified in any medical specialty. Michael Jackson's death was a homicide.
That is a 10 cc syringe. And what he told investigators was that he pulled in that 10 cc syringe propofol and lidocaine. And you will learn from one of the prosecution's experts that that is a half and half proposition based on the science, and we'll discuss that later. So what Dr. Murray gave was 25 milligrams, but it was 5 cc's because he had the antidote. And you will see in the toxicology the lidocaine that was in Michael Jackson to bear that out. When Dr. Murray did this, he told investigators, Michael Jackson went to sleep. And what he said was more than what Mr. Walgren told you. What he said was, I checked the pulse oximeter to see his oxygenation. It was in the 90s, which is very good. I checked to see that his pulse was normal. It was in the 70s, which was normal for Michael Jackson. And I sat, and I watched, and I left only when I felt comfortable. So when Mr. Walgren talks about abandonment, what you have to understand is, and we're going to go over the science in a second, by the time that Dr. Murray left that room, you're going to learn there was 0 propofol in his system. And we're going to explain why that was. I want to leave you at the point where Dr. Murray has left the room. I told you, I want to leave you there, we're going to come back to that. I told you on jury selection that this was going to be a scientific case. Remember, I asked all of you, would you be willing to listen? Now, I'm not saying abandon your heart at the door. I'm saying listen to the science. And you will know the truth. And you all said you'd do that. Well, I want to explain to you some things, some propositions about propofol that were not explained to you. And I know all of you are fair, and you're not taking into consideration what you saw on TV. But in case you have some notions about propofol that are false, I want to make sure that you know exactly what it is and what it isn't, because in this case, that's going to matter. We are going to also put experts on the stand. And the expert that we have, we will introduce to you, his name is Dr. Paul White. Now, Dr. Paul White is the preeminent, you'll find, the preeminent expert in propofol. He is internationally known. Let me make sure I get this right. For intravenous sedative and anesthetic medicine. He was past president of the American Society for Ambulatory Anesthesia. He was a professor in medical school for anesthesia at Stanford, Washington University, and just recently, University of Texas in Dallas. You will learn that one of the people's experts was his student. And you will learn that the coroner, when developing a list of experts to use to determine things about propofol, listed up at the top of the list Dr. White. Dr. White is known as the father, just by his peers, the father of propofol. He will tell you that it It was mostly his involvement in developing the protocol for use of propofol in this country for conscious sedation. He has written over 800 books, either written or co-authored over 800 books on anesthesia, sedation. And here's what he's going to tell you about propofol, things about propofol that you may not have heard. He's going to tell you that I'm going to talk about three things that propofol is. We're going to get into a whole lot in the case about propofol, more than you ever want to know. I promise you that. On closing argument, I'm going to talk about that as well. But for purposes of what you're going to hear in the evidence, so that you know why the science is important, I'm going to go into three details right before. I might have got that wrong, but bear with me. First is, propofol is normally used as an intravenous drug. It's normally used intravenously. In other words, you either inject it or you drip it. Sometimes it's used both. We'll explain what that is, when that is. Propofol is not a poison. It's not a neurotoxin. It has one job to do. It only has one job to do. And that is to put people to sleep. If you give enough propofol, then what Mr. Walgren said is true. You can even involve yourself in invasive surgery. You can perform operations. And we're used to seeing blinking lights and respiratory devices. And that's the kind of thing that Mr. Walgren told you about. But what Dr. White will tell you is this. When you perform invasive surgery and you use the amount of propofol that's necessary for invasive surgery, propofol is both powerful and dangerous. How many times have you heard that? What the PDR tells you is when you are performing invasive surgery, heart surgery, gastroenterology, that's the wrong phrase, but surgery that requires you to cut a patient open, the amounts that is used is recommended to be 2 to 2.5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. In other words, for somebody about 150 pounds, Michael Jackson's size, what Dr. White will tell you is you're looking at somewhere over 130 milligrams. With that much propofol, there is a danger. He will tell you. He will tell you that with that much propofol, it's not that there's a danger that it's just going to stop your heart. It's not poison. But there is a sincere risk of an apnea event. In other words, obstruction of the upper respiratory. You know what I'm talking about. We're used to sleep apnea, right? But we wake up. We don't die. If you have this much propofol in your system, you can't wake up.
We got about 9 minutes.
That's the danger of propofol, is the apnea event.
Live streaming.
But what Dr. White will tell you
with the full video
is that propofol is most often used, normally used, not for invasive surgeries. It's used for sedation. And it's used in amounts far less than what would be necessary for this dangerous procedure. For propofol, it's a matter of degree. Dr. White will tell you that when you give propofol in these amounts, 25 to 50 milligrams, in amounts that he will describe to you as conscious sedation, he will tell you there's no danger of an upper airway constriction. None. Listen to what I'm saying. He's going to tell you none. He's going to tell you that there's no risk of cardiac effect. And he will tell you that he didn't make that up. That comes from the American Society of Anesthesiologists documentation for use of propofol for non-anesthesiologists. It's a known fact. For propofol is a matter of degree. Dr. Murray explained to police investigators that he gave Michael Jackson 50 milligrams of propofol and a drip to maintain that level of propofol in his system. On the day that Michael Jackson died, he gave 25, similar to what he'd given 2 days before. It's a matter of degree. Dr. White will tell you something else very important for you to understand when you listen to this evidence. And I'm sorry about the science. I know it's late in the open. For that. I was worried about that. Propofol is not unique, and that it's a matter of degree.
Turn off, if I may. It's the noon hour. I want to make sure that you get the full opportunity to present your opening.
You want to break for lunch, Jeff?
That's my suggestion. Unless you want to cover another subject area.
No, I think we should break for lunch, if that's...
All right, let's do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take the noon recess at this time. Please remember and follow to the letter all of my admonitions and orders. And please enjoy your lunch. We will see everyone at 1:30, and we are going to resume at 1:30. We're not going to be delayed anymore. I'm sorry for the delays. Have a nice lunch. Thank you.
Is negligent in the abstract, or whether he's a good doctor in the abstract. You will never be asked to determine whether Dr. Murray should have been the cause of Michael Jackson's death. You will be asked to determine who was the cause of Michael Jackson's death. The science in this case, the pure science, the evidence in this case, we believe is going to show you this. Despite everything that had gone on in the past, despite anything that had gone on during that day, during the 10 hours on June 25th, 2009, while Michael Jackson was frustrated because he could not sleep, frustrated because his doctor refused to give him a drug that he preferred, that he wanted, he did an act without his doctor's knowledge, without his doctor's permission, against his orders. He did an act that caused his own death. What we believe the evidence will show you is during those 10 hours, the science will show you that Michael Jackson swallowed 8 2-milligram lorazepam pills, pushing his blood concentration of lorazepam to 0.169 micrograms per milliliter. And the experts will tell you that that's enough to put 6 of you to sleep. And he did this when Dr. Murray was not around. We believe the evidence will show you, the scientific evidence will show you that when Dr. Murray left the room, Michael Jackson self-administered a dose of propofol that with the lorazepam created a perfect storm in his body that killed him instantly. When Dr. Murray came into the room and found Michael Jackson, there was no CPR, there was no doctor, no paramedic, no machine that was going to revive Michael Jackson. He died so rapidly, so instantly, he didn't even have time to close his eyes. One of the prosecution, the judge has told you that we do not have, the defense does not have the requirement to put on any evidence. We will provide you the science to show you what happened.
If you're just relying on
But
science
we
only,
intend to,
that's
in
why
this
it's called the
case,
study of.
provide to you answers to two questions. First, how did Michael Jackson get to this point, this desperate point? And second, what happened when Dr. Murray was out of the room? One of the things Mr. Walden told you in his opening was that Michael Jackson was preparing for a concert at the O2 Arena. And he was. But he undersold it just a little bit. Because what Michael Jackson was really preparing to do, what he was actually going to do at the O2 Arena, with This Is It, was create history. Not just for us, for himself. You will hear from Randy Phillips, who is the president of AEG Live. You will hear from Kenny Ortega, who was the co-choreographer of the rehearsal of the This Is It production. You will hear from Paul Gongaware, who was part of the production team for This Is It. And what they will tell you is that Michael Jackson had not performed for 10 years. And this particular series of concerts, these shows, were going to be his absolution. He needed to do these shows. They're going to tell you that he was intimately involved in every aspect of the production. I don't know what impression you came in with about Michael Jackson. He wasn't just brilliant artistically. He was a smart man. He was involved in every aspect of that production. The dance.
If he was a smart man, then why would he inject himself a lethal
music,
dose?
he chose the songs. He
for
wrote
him
the
to kill
songs.
himself.
The effects, the 3D effects in this show, the movie clips, these were his. This was his show. This was how Michael Jackson was going to be remembered. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. This was going to be his memory. He needed to do these shows. Randy Phillips will tell you that it was not just going to end with This Is It. The contract provided that if he were to complete these shows, if he were to do what he set out to do, he would have the ability to pack it all up for a world tour. There'd be I believe Randy Phillips will tell you, 4 segments of a world tour that he could attend, that he could perform at. And it wouldn't end at that. Randy Phillips will tell you that, and you will see in Michael Jackson's own
Randy Phillips.
handwriting,
Who's Randy Phillips?
his plans for 4 to 5 movies, including a 3D version of Thriller. Randy Phillips will tell you that this equated for Michael Jackson at the age of 50, hundreds of millions of dollars. Randy Phillips will tell you that with the world tour, there would not even be a close second of what he could earn. And all he had to do, you will hear, all he had to do was the O2 shows to set this in motion. All he had to do was complete these shows. The problem was he was never going to be able to do these shows.
Why was
Because
he
Michael
never?
Jackson had a problem. He had a problem.
No, because it's
No
a
amount of
setup.
determination,
The Illuminati.
no dedication, no talent would ever overcome. And he knew that he needed help. And in the spring of 2009, Michael Jackson went out looking for that help. In the summer of 2008, you'll hear from Randy Phillips. He'll tell you that in that summer there was the initial negotiations for This Is It. He will tell you that on October 31st, 2008, he met with Michael Jackson at the Bel Air Hotel, along with his financial advisor, along with two bodyguards, Alberto Alvarez and Michael Amir Williams. You'll meet all of those people in this trial. And the parameters of the show were set out. Randy Phillips will tell you that during that meeting, Michael Jackson cried. He said, "I'm tired of being a vagabond. I just want a house for me and my kids." In January 2009, Michael Jackson met with Randy Phillips again, this time to sign the contract. Paul Gongaware was there. You'll meet Paul Gongaware. They met at Michael Jackson's residence. At that residence, they signed the contract. Michael Jackson signed in his name, and he signed as president of Michael Jackson Company. Randy Phillips will tell you that Michael Jackson was nervous. The contract read for up to 31 shows. Michael Jackson was afraid. Michael Jackson, of all people, was afraid he wouldn't sell the tickets. You will learn that it sold so quick. The ticket sales were so fast that a mere week after pre-sales, this is not the real sales, these are pre-sales, they had to increase the shows to 50. And Michael Jackson said he would do it. He would increase those shows to 50 on two conditions. One, that he had a house for him and his children with 16 acres and horses they could play at. And two, that the Guinness Book of World Records would be there to record what was a historical event. You see, 50 shows for a 50-year-old man in one arena that seats 25,000 people. Over 1 million people would have come to see Michael Jackson. That has never been done before, and Michael Jackson knew it. This was it for him, and he named the tour himself. This is it, and for him it was. In March of 2009, he made the announcement. The announcement was made at the O2 Arena. At that announcement, Michael Jackson was up on stage, and you'll hear about that from Randy Phillips as well. During this time, during this entire process, negotiations, contract signing, the meetings, all the conversations about this tour, Dr. Murray was helping patients. You will learn in this trial about who Dr. Murray really is. You've heard what Mr. Walgren says, oh, he was greedy. It's all about money for Dr. Murray. But you'll hear in this trial who he really is. celebrity doctor. He doesn't have an office in Beverly Hills dispensing pills to the rich and famous. He's a cardiologist. He's an interventional cardiologist. He has two practices you'll learn. One in Houston, my hometown, and one in Las Vegas. Every week, what Dr. Murray does, every week, is he performs angioplasty procedures where he sifts a catheter through an artery, sometimes in the groin, sometimes in the leg, sometimes in the arm, to the part of the artery that's clogged. These are procedures that require anesthesia, sedation. He literally saves lives. He literally takes care of only people that have had a heart attack or who are about to. That's who he was. That's who he is. In the spring, let me back a second. I'm going to talk about what the evidence will show about Dr. Murray's alleged greed. Since Mr. Waldron brought it up, I think it's important you hear what the evidence will show. Mr. Waldron said that Dr. Murray, because it was so lucrative, this $150,000 was so lucrative, that he would provide any drug for Michael Jackson. Let me tell you about Dr. Murray's greed. We're going to bring to you patients of Dr. Murray. These are patients who understand Dr. Murray's character traits in the context of what matters most as a doctor. We're going to bring you patients from Las Vegas, and we're going to bring you patients from Houston. You're going to meet Ruby Mosley, for instance. Ruby Mosley is an 82-year-old woman from Acres Homes in Houston, Texas. She will make you very happy to be alive when she testifies. You will like her very much. She has been the secretary for the Acres Homes Community Development Association for 40 years. She will tell you that she met Dr. Murray at his father's funeral. See, his doctor, Dr. Andrews, was the only doctor that Acres Homes had. Acres Homes is the poorest section, poorest community in my hometown. It had paved roads, came in the 70s. And Dr. Murray, when Dr. Andrews, his father, died, Dr. Murray vowed to open up cardiology practice in Acres Homes because of the vacuum of care that had been created when his father died. And Ruby Mosley will tell you, people say things all the time about Acres Homes. But Dr. Murray, 2 weeks later, came in, built the cardiology practice, and started treating patients. Ruby Mosley will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, she will tell you, there's no money to be made in Acres Homes. The odds of anybody in that community seeing a cardiologist was about as likely as going to the moon. Ruby Mosley and other patients will tell you that when they came to see Dr. Murray, nobody asked how you were going to pay. If you couldn't pay, Dr. Murray wouldn't charge you. If you had Medicare, he wouldn't charge you any extra what Medicare would pay. He would buy prescriptions for these patients if they couldn't afford to do it. Look, I'm not telling you that this information, this evidence, bless you, is provided to you because we're going to ask you to do one free one. That he's been a good guy, so acquit him. We won't have to do that. I'm telling you this because you need, if the prosecution is going to get up here and tell you he's greedy and callous and reckless, you need to hear the full story about it. And we'll provide you that information. And what you'll learn about Dr. Murray is he, as Ms. Waldron pointed out, he met Michael Jackson in 2006. It's the only celebrity he's ever known. And he met Michael Jackson because one of Michael Jackson's bodyguards, while he was in Vegas, knew Dr. Murray because he had saved or helped his father. And one of Michael Jackson's children was sick, and Dr. Murray was called out to the hotel. That's how he met Michael Jackson, fortuitously. You will learn in the statements that he made to the police, please understand that what was played to you is only part of that conversation. You will get to hear all of it. But in the statement that he made to police, he explained that Michael Jackson and him became friends first. And Michael Jackson would share with him things about his childhood, about his family, about his life, his dreams, his hopes. They were friends first. You will learn through medical records that will be provided to you by us that between 2006 through 2008, Dr. Murray did treat Michael Jackson. He did. He treated him for things like toe fungus, for suffocation of the hip, treated him for a broken foot, tested his heart to see if that was okay, did blood tests to see if his liver was okay. On 2 occasions, Michael Jackson told Dr. Murray, I have anxiety and I have trouble sleeping. 2 occasions. And Dr. Murray, who knew nothing about the real problem that Michael Jackson had, prescribed Restoril, which you will learn for Michael Jackson was about as effective as water. Now, I don't recall if Mr. Walgren told you this. He may have in his opening statement, but what you will learn in the evidence in this case is that Michael Jackson, he didn't have insomnia. Insomnia is a medical condition or a symptom. You won't learn that he had insomnia. He didn't have trouble going to sleep. He didn't wake up in the middle of the night, watch TV, have a bad day the next day. Michael Jackson had an absolute, total, and thorough inability to sleep. Not for minutes, not for hours, for days. On June 27, 2009, and Mr. Walgren mentioned this, I want to be a little more specific about what happened on that day. On June 27, 2009, 2 days after the death of Michael Jackson, Dr. Murray and myself and Michael Payne, sitting over there, from Houston, who knew Dr. Murray. We met with police detectives at the Ritz-Carlton, Marina del Rey. The only thing that we chose was the location because we were staying there, and the time because we had to fly in. But you will learn that everything else at that meeting was decided by the police, Detective Martinez and Detective Smith. You will learn that prior to that meeting, a phone call was made to Dr. Murray, and Michael Pena returned it immediately and said, yes, of course we will come and talk. And you will learn that it wasn't just Dr. Murray that had a lawyer in this case. 9 of the people's witnesses also had a lawyer in this case. It was just that type of case. Now, prior to meeting with Dr. Murray, and by the way, we scheduled the meeting for 2 o'clock, you'll hear. They rescheduled it for 4. We were ready to go. Detective Smith, prior to that meeting, had already toured the house twice at Carrollwood, where Michael Jackson had died. Detective Smith had already attended the autopsy. Detective Smith had already spoken to all the witnesses at the hospital, security staff, house staff, all the doctors, prior to ever speaking to Dr. Murray. You will learn that in the meeting, there was no limitations on the questions that could be asked. There was no limitations on the amount of time it took. We would have stayed there all night if they needed that. You'll learn that every single question that was asked of Dr. Murray, he answered thoroughly. You will learn that he never had to break away and talk to his lawyers to decide whether to answer a particular question. And you will learn that at that meeting, Dr. Murray said to these police detectives, I don't know what killed Michael Jackson. I want to know also. You will learn that prior to having that meeting with detectives, Dr. Murray spoke to Detective Portia, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, but I believe it's Portia, at the hospital. And Dr. Murray was asked, what objection called trigger is this? The objection is sustained. We will call Detective Portia as a witness. And we will ask Detective Portia about a conversation that he had with Dr. Murray. And we believe he will tell you about that conversation.
The objection is sustained as to tell you without the substance at this juncture.
He will tell you about the conversation, about what the conversation was about. At this meeting with Detective Martinez and Detective Smith, Dr. Murray told the detectives that about Michael Jackson's problems, about his sleep problems. He told them about the discussions in the spring of 2009 when Michael Jackson came to him and asked him for help. What you will hear in these conversations, what you will hear in these meetings, is Dr. Murray talking about Michael Jackson's desperation, Michael Jackson's need. Michael Jackson told Dr. Murray that he had an inability to sleep, and the only way that he could sleep was on propofol, and that he had always slept on propofol when he was touring. Now, Dr. Murray told investigators this took him back. This didn't make any sense to him. And Michael Jackson told Dr. Murray how propofol was applied. He told Dr. Murray that it needed to be used with lidocaine. He told Dr. Murray that he had a nickname for propofol. He called it his milk. And when you see propofol in person, you'll understand why he called it milk. Michael Jackson told Dr. Murray that the lidocaine that was provided, you had to give it with lidocaine, otherwise it would burn. And he called this lidocaine, the nickname for lidocaine was anti-burn. Dr. Murray told police investigators he was surprised that he knew so much about propofol. He was concerned when Michael Jackson said he was going to use propofol irrespective of Dr. Murray. And so, Dr. Murray told investigators that yes, he agreed. He agreed to help Michael Jackson sleep. He agreed to provide propofol. And Ms. Wagner pointed out that they were going to have experts say that the mere act of providing propofol for sleep is negligent. He spent a long time in his opening statement talking about that. What you will learn from the evidence, though, is this. Dr. Murray provided protocol for sleep for 2 months for Michael Jackson. For 2 months. For those 2 months that he provided propofol to Michael Jackson slept, he woke up, and he lived his life. He went to work, and he continued with what he needed to do, what he felt he needed to do. The evidence is not going to show you that Michael Jackson died when Dr. Murray gave him propofol for sleep. What the evidence is going to show you is that Michael Jackson died when Dr. Murray stopped. What Mr. Walmsley did not tell you in opening statement, but what you will learn in this case, what you will learn in this trial, is the agreement between, as he told police, the agreement between himself and Michael Jackson to provide propofol for sleep was satisfied for Michael Jackson as long as he continued to provide propofol. But what Dr. Murray told police investigators is that he believed his role in this partnership was to find a way to help Michael Jackson sleep normally. Now, he had always told Michael Jackson, you can't keep using this. What happens when your tour is over? Why can't you sleep normally? Why won't you let me work with other sedatives, something else that will help you to sleep? You will see in these applied pharmacy records not just the propofol that was ordered. And by the way, the amount of propofol that was ordered was exactly the amount that Dr. Murray, as you'll see, our experts will show you, is exactly the amount that was necessary to do exactly what he said he did. And no more. But you will see in those applied pharmacy records, Dr. Murray also ordering midazolam and lorazepam because he had hoped that he could switch to those sedatives to wean Michael Jackson off of propofol so he could sleep naturally. What he told police investigators and was left out in the opening statement was that on the day that Michael Jackson died, this was the 3rd day of a weaning process. You see, on June 22nd, 3 days before Michael Jackson died, Michael Jackson finally agreed to let Dr. Murray try to cooperate with him, to try to get him off this propofol. And you will learn that on that day, Dr. Murray gave half the propofol he would normally give. Normally, he would give 50 milligrams in an injection and then a drip to keep the blood levels up. That would be his normal process for the 2 months prior. But on the 22nd, he gave half of each and gave lorazepam and midazolam. And Michael Jackson slept. He slept. And the next day, he got out and he went to work. On the 23rd, and it's 23rd, 24th because the evening goes into the morning, but the next day, Dr. Murray provided Michael Jackson no propofol at all. It was the first night in 2 months that he slept without propofol. And he used only midazolam and lorazepam. On the night, the day that he died, the plan was not to give propofol. The plan was to go to the midazolam, the lorazepam. That's why you hear this recording. Please give me the propofol. Because for 10 hours on the 25th, the morning of the 25th, for 10 hours, Dr. Murray refused, instead giving him midazolam and lorazepam. Dr. Murray told police investigators that as 10 o'clock approached, Michael Jackson started begging for propofol. He was confused. He told police investigators he didn't understand why he wasn't sleeping. Why wasn't he sleeping? He had slept the night before. He told investigators that he was so confused he literally reached under the bed sheets to determine, to see if maybe the medicine that he was giving him was leaking onto the bed, just wasn't getting into Michael Jackson. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't understand. One of the things that one of the things that the evidence is going to show you in this case, that you're going to learn in this case, you're going to learn about certain personality traits that Michael Jackson had. Not bad traits, but personality traits. What you're going to learn about Michael Jackson is that he had the habit of compartmentalizing relationships, packaging relationships, like spokes in a wheel. The wheel in his life turned, but the people that he associated with, the groups of people, were like spokes. They rarely, if ever, touched. You'll hear from the security staff that they necessarily knew where Michael Jackson went during the day, what he did during the day, because they had to take him there. But they were not allowed inside the house. They were not allowed, except to use the restroom by the kitchen. They weren't allowed to know what was going on inside the house. You'll hear from AEG staff, Randy Phillips, the president of AEG Live, will say that in order to talk to Michael Jackson, he had to go through Michael Lemire. He had to call Michael Lemire first, his guard and assistant. And they didn't know what he was doing when he wasn't at rehearsals. You'll hear from Dr. Murray told police investigators he didn't know what Michael Jackson did during the day when he was home sleeping. You'll hear about situations with his family. One of the spokes in Michael Jackson's wheel was a Beverly Hills doctor by the name of Dr. Arnold Klein. We will not be able to call Dr. Klein as a witness or his staff, but we will be able to provide you medical records that we subpoenaed that describe the treatment that Michael Jackson received at Dr. Arnold Klein's office.
We're here today.
Now, Dr. Arnold Klein is a dermatologist by trade. You will learn.
The defense attorney for Dr. Mopri.
You will see from these medical records, it will be like footprints in the sand.
At this time, we will be taking a break in about 10 minutes. We'll be getting back to you soon.
What you will learn is that Michael Jackson would visit Dr. Arnold Klein sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. And that he would, according to the medical records, and I'm not going to tell you, I can't vouch for how complete they are, but they are what we have. And you will learn that during those procedures that he would get at the dermatologist, he would get Botox, perhaps, or Restylane, perhaps, maybe a blemish removal. But on each of those occasions that he visited Dr. Arnold Klein, he would receive a shot, an injection of Demerol. Sometimes that injection was 100 milligrams, sometimes 200 milligrams, sometimes 300 milligrams. There were weeks where he received over 1,000 milligrams in 1 week. In this case, we're going to present to you an addiction specialist. His name is Dr. Waldman. Dr. Waldman is co-director or co-medical director of the Daniel Freeman Marina Hospital in Marina Del Rey. What he will tell you is that looking at these medical records, and we will show you these medical records, we will graph them out for you. Michael Jackson, he believed, or rather, let me just say this, Dr. Arnold Klein addicted Michael Jackson to Demerol. And he will tell you that one of the insidious effects, the most difficult things about Demerol addiction and its withdrawal, is an inability to sleep. And for some patients, it's an absolute inability to sleep. When Dr. Murray was reaching under the bed sheets trying to figure out where all the medicine was going, why this man didn't sleep, Dr. Murray was not part of that package. He did not know that Michael Jackson was receiving this Demerol. And you will hear the conversation that he had with police at the Marina Del Rey, Ritz, Carlton, where they asked him, "Did you know about the Demerol?" And Dr. Murray said, "What Demerol? I just saw that on TV. What was that about?" And Dr. Waldman will talk about the events that occurred, and you heard some of it from Mr. Walgren today. The events that occurred the week before Michael Jackson's death. And you will learn that Michael Jackson received a shot of Demerol on June 16th, 2009. He had rehearsal scheduled that day. He attended that rehearsal. You will learn that he attended the next rehearsal on the 17th, but he missed on the 18th. He just didn't show up. And on the 19th, as Mr. Walgren told you, he was absolutely unable to perform. He had chills. He was in pain. He was sick. And Dr. Waldman is going to explain to you what he believes was happening during that week. And he's going to explain to you what he believed was happening thereafter as we got to the 25th of June, 24th, 25th of June. And what he's going to tell you is that Michael Jackson was suffering from the Demerol withdrawal, that his insomnia was as a result, partly at least as a result. Now, Michael Jackson told Dr. Murray that his insomnia was a result of his mind always racing, always moving, always producing. He just couldn't keep still. It was the genius in him. And perhaps partly that was true. We know about people like that. But Dr. Waldman will tell you it was also the Demerol. Dr. Murray explained in much greater detail about what happened when he eventually agreed on the 24th to give 25 milligrams of propofol. He explained not just what you heard. You're going to hear and you're going to see a lot more than that. You're going to see the trend, what transpired between Dr. Murray and Michael Jackson during that period of time. It wasn't just what you heard. That was bit and piece. You're going to hear it in context. And what Michael Jackson told Dr. Murray at around 10:50, while he hadn't slept for 10 hours. He was up and around, he was in other rooms, he was lying down, but his eyes were always open. Couldn't sleep. And what he told Dr. Murray was, if I don't sleep, if I don't get some sleep, I can't complete my rehearsal. If I can't complete my rehearsal, I can't do my show. And I will disappoint my fans, and I will fail if I don't get that propofol. Now, these were not false words to Michael Jackson. They were not false words to Dr. Murray. Because what you will learn is that the week prior, when Michael Jackson failed to show up for rehearsals on the 18th,
we got about a minute and a half. 2 minutes left.
To perform on the 19th,
And
as they
we'll
moved
be taking a
this
quick break
entire
and
production
getting
to
back
the
to you
Staples Center.
on the case of
That
Dr.
meeting
Conrad
that was
Murray
held on June 20th
versus the state
was not for Michael
and
Jackson's
Michael
benefit.
Jackson's
It
family.
was an emergency meeting. This would have been the third meeting that they would have had to have, and you will see an email between Kenny Ortega and Randy Phillips, where the conversation was about pulling the plug. After the emergency meeting on June 20th, Michael Jackson's performance was much better on the 23rd and the 24th. You will see video of that. What you will not see is video of the other rehearsals. So when Michael Jackson told Dr. Murray, I have to sleep, I have to get some sleep, they will cancel my rehearsals, I will lose this performance, he meant it. Dr. Murray knew he meant it. At 10:40, while Michael Jackson was saying this, and Dr. Murray agreed to give him some propofol, Dr. Murray...
Okay, we're back again
very important
with the trial.
This is
Michael
so
Jackson's
unique
death
to
trial,
propofol
day one.
that Dr. White may tell you that there is no other drug
Live streaming, Channel 7 ABC.
Propofol acts very quickly. We're familiar with the countdown to 1 to 100 to 1, you get to 99, you're done. It works very quickly, propofol. But what's important about propofol is that it also dissipates. Its clinical effects disappear very quickly, much quicker than other drugs. And this is an important distinction, it doesn't even matter how much you give in an injection. So, what Dr. White will tell you is that if you give 25 milligrams of propofol, and he'll tell you that there is no danger there, but he will tell you that in 10 minutes, can everyone see this? No? Okay.
Rather than speak directly, we should just ask me, and I'll ask the jury.
Can you all see it?
Now you can. Just
Defense attorney is having issues right now.
Will dissipate.
Look at Dr. Murray. He looks very nervous.
The blood in 10 minutes. But the same is true of 150 milligrams, 130, 120 milligrams. The same is true of 180. The same is true of 1,000. In 10 minutes, no matter how much you give, in an injection, in 10 minutes, there's nothing left. So when we talk about abandonment in this case, that's an important point for you to understand, and Dr. White will explain both how that is and why it is. When this case ultimately concludes, we believe, the defense believes, that science will explain what happened. But we believe that ultimately the difference of opinion between the prosecution and the defense will, and this simplifies it, but it explains it perfectly, the difference will be the difference between what Dr. Murray said he gave, 25 milligrams, and 100 plus milligrams. As you recall, Mr. Walgren said that their experts will tell you that the amount that was found in Michael Jackson's toxicology, the level that was found, is consistent with major surgery, invasive surgery. And we believe that what their experts, if they're are going to say, in fact, our experts will say, is that's going to be in amounts larger than 100 milligrams. And this is an important point. At the scene, you're going to hear Elisa Fleet testify. And she's going to explain what was at the scene. She'll explain the elements that were at the scene, the things that were found. She is a coroner investigator. She's going to tell you what was found at the scene. And although the prosecution did not tell you in their opening statement what their theory is about how we got to this point, they said something to you about, well, maybe you'll decide there's a drip. She said something like that. I don't know exactly his exact words, but maybe that'll be up for you to decide. We're going to, in this case, demonstrate to you, not only is it improbable that there was a drip, it was not possible. So the question that will come up, the question that you will have in the jury room, ultimately is, how did Michael Jackson get more propofol? And this will be the two numbers, the distinction that you'll be wrestling with scientifically. Now, during the jury selection, you recall Mr. Walgren talking to you about the charge. Remember him saying to you about how the charge will be that an act cannot be the cause of death unless it is a substantial factor. You remember those words that were used quite a bit? An act cannot be the cause of death unless it's a substantial factor. But I want to give you the rest of the charge. I want to give you the rest of the story. And here's what we believe you will have in the jury room with you. This is the language that we believe you will have in the jury room when you make making a determination in this case. You will be told that an act you will be told this in the charge. An act can only be the cause of death if the death is the direct, natural, and probable consequence of the act. And you will be further told that a natural and probable consequence is one that a reasonable and you'll get this right, but a reasonable person would know is likely to happen if nothing unusual intervenes. We believe that Dr. White is going to testify that in this case, he's going to tell you these things. He's going to tell you that in his expert opinion, Dr. Murray could not have killed Michael Jackson, could not be responsible for this death. He will tell you that the amounts that Dr. Murray gave were not capable of causing that death. He'll tell you that the precautions that Dr. Murray took for these amounts were sufficient, and he's going to tell you what precautions are used in doctors' offices, gastroenterology clinics, dentists' offices, where nurses give this drug. He's going to tell you those precautions. Dr. White's going to tell you that if Dr. Murray, even though the amount would not have killed Michael Jackson in 10 minutes, goes down, there'll be less, 4 less. But he'll tell you after 10 minutes, there's no measurable amount, even. He'll tell you, we believe, when he testifies, that the science will prove that there had to have been more propofol delivered to Michael Jackson when Dr. Murray left the room. Had to be. We will ask every single expert that the prosecution presents, every one, this question. If the drugs that Michael Jackson received on the 25th were exactly what Dr. Murray said, what Dr. Murray reported, would that have killed Michael Jackson? Every one of them will tell you, no, we believe. And every one of them will tell you there had to have been more propofol delivered, provided, taken by Michael Jackson after the period of time that Dr. Murray left that room. Now, the prosecution has not told you what their theory of that is, that 25 to 100. And I don't know exactly what it is yet, but the defense believes that the evidence will show you that the delivery of that propofol was through Michael Jackson himself. We talked about lorazepam just a little bit. Remember in the beginning of opening, we talked about that. Now let's talk about that more specifically. Because we believe that what happened with that lorazepam shows you the state of mind that Michael Jackson was in during those 10 hours. Now what you're going to find is the lorazepam that was in Michael Jackson was in much greater amounts, great high amounts. And we talked about that, 0.169. You're going to hear that what Dr. Murray said that he gave Michael Jackson was 4 milligrams, which would have been about a 0.04 as opposed to a 0.169. Now, the prosecution can say, well, he just gave more. But let's talk about what that more means. If Dr. Murray had actually given him the amount of lorazepam you're going to find, it would have equated to that kind of level. Their expert's going to tell you that it would require a 4 milligram shot of lorazepam every 30 minutes for 5 hours. Now, we obviously don't think that anybody would do that, much less our client, Dr. Murray. But the question is, how did Michael Jackson get that lorazepam in his system? What you're going to learn today is that the coroner doesn't necessarily have to test everything. They only have to do their job. And the prosecution doesn't have to give you all of the evidence. They only have to prove their case. So what we have done, because part of the autopsy involved the stomach contents of Michael Jackson, what we did was knowing that they did not test those stomach contents for lorazepam. We did. And what we found was the amount of lorazepam in his stomach contents at the time of death was 4 times greater than what was found in his blood. And our experts will tell you that the only possible way that he could have had that much lorazepam in his stomach, or any in his stomach at all, was he was swallowing it that morning. We believe that the evidence will tell you this, that Michael Jackson wanted to sleep for 10 hours, was frustrated, unable to sleep, couldn't sleep, needed to sleep, needed to succeed. And his doctor would not give him propofol, the drug that he wanted. And Michael Jackson swallowed while he was up and about in the room and other rooms in the bathroom, up to 8 pills on his own, without telling his doctor, without permission from his doctor. And when Dr. Murray gave him the 25 milligrams, and Dr. Murray left the room, Michael Jackson self-administered an additional dose of propofol. And it killed him. And it killed him like that, and there was no way to save him. We We have seen pictures of his children. We have seen pictures of him, bright and vivacious on stage, but compared to how he looked when he died. This is an emotional case. We all have a vested interest in Michael Jackson. If you're my age, you do. But the evidence is it's tragic. The whole thing's tragic, but the evidence is not going to show that Dr. Murray did it. And at the end, we're going to ask you to acquit him. Dr. Murray is not a perfect man. He's an imperfect man, like all of us. That I grant you. But in this criminal court, we believe he's not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would, could you remove the poster boards? Thank you. That would help. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the parties have presented to you their opening statements. I remind you that the opening statements of the attorneys are not evidence in this case. You now will hear and see the evidence. At this time, Mr. Walgren, you may present your case.
Thank you. The people would call Kenny Ortega to the stand.
Okay, we are now going to be presenting evidence into the case. And we're going to take a short break in a few minutes. Oh my God, signal lost. Okay, hold on, the signal is lost.
Shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Well, I work less as a choreographer now, more supervising as a choreographer. But in the day, I would create dance routines, dance production numbers, dance sequences.
Well, I work less as a choreographer now, more supervising as a choreographer. But in the day,
I've been directing since the 1980s, and I've been choreographing since the 1970s.
Sequences.
Okay. And how long have you been a director and a choreographer?
I've been
in addition to film and television and stage, are there other productions you've been involved in?
Yes.
Such as?
Olympic ceremonies,
And
Super Bowl
in addition to film and
ceremonies,
television and
World
stage,
Cup ceremonies,
are there other productions you've been involved in?
concert touring,
Such as?
theater.
Olympic ceremonies, Super Bowl ceremonies, World Cup
Did you know Michael
ceremonies.
Jackson?
Yes.
When did you first meet
Concert
Mr.
touring.
Jackson?
Theater.
I met Michael in 1990.
And do you remember under what circumstances you met him?
Yes, Michael called me at my home and expressed an interest in working with me creatively on an upcoming tour.
And which tour was that?
That was the Dangerous Tour.
And you took him up on that offer?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And what was your role on
on the Dangerous tour?
On the Dangerous tour, I was the co-creator of the show itself with Michael, and I was the director of the production.
In addition to the Dangerous tour, were there other, prior to This Is It, were there other tours you were involved in with Michael?
Yes. I also was Michael's co-creative partner on History, the History tour, and also a couple of other one-off concert productions for charity.
What do you mean one-offs?
Not part of his tour, but like special concerts that were done for charitable reasons.
Okay. Now, your professional relationship with Mr. Jackson, was it always in, as you described, as co-director or co-creator?
Starting with History, I believe we were co-directors, and then again on This Is It.
Can you describe your professional interaction with Michael in that capacity as co-creators?
Sure. It was just extremely creative, enjoyable, fun, inspirational. Michael and I would meet and begin at the beginning, and have an entire creative process sculpting out the ideas for the production. From the music, staging, effects, lighting, everything that attributed to the whole of the production.
And in these areas, the music, the dance, the staging, the effects, the lighting, would Michael be heavily involved in all of that decision-making?
Yeah, I did not do the choreography. Michael did the choreography and also did choreography with other choreographers. I supervised the choreography, but did not do the day in, day out, creation of the dances. In fact, many of those dances were there before I started working with Michael. But yes, in those other areas, costuming, lighting, sound, the staging of the production, illusions.
Okay. And in between tours, for example, Dangerous tour, you mentioned the History tour, what type of personal relationship, if any, did you have with Mr. Jackson?
We had just a great friendship working together as professionals. I didn't spend a lot of time with Michael when we weren't engaged in a production, but over the last few years, we did keep in touch a little bit more often, saw each other on occasion, talked on the telephone.
Okay. Now, following the History tour, what was the next tour you were involved in with Michael Jackson?
Following the History tour, the next tour would have been This Is It.
Okay. And how did you become involved then on the This Is It tour?
I was first informed by AEG that Michael had an interest in involving me in a planned tour, and then Michael reached out to me personally.
Okay. What is AEG?
It's the company that promoted, that was the promoting company for This Is It.
Okay. And so then Mr. Jackson contacted you directly after that?
Yes.
And did he ask you to be part of that tour?
Yes, he did.
And can you describe that conversation, please?
Just that he was very excited, and he used the expression, "This is it," a number of times during the telephone conversation, and I remembered saying to him, "You should just call it This Is It." You've said it so many times. He was just very excited. He was, "This is it. This is the time. There's great reason to do this now. I'm excited about this, and I want you to be a part of this with me. Will you do this with me?"
And did you agree to do it?
I was involved in other projects at the time, but I told Michael that I would do everything I could to clear myself so that I could be a part of it with him.
Okay. And were you able to do that?
Yes.
When did you start working on the This Is It tour with Michael?
I would would say approximately middle April.
And what was your role to be as part of that production?
Co-creator and co-director, along with Michael.
Let's clarify something. Middle April, what year?
2009.
And as co-creator, co-director, was it again the same type of professional relationship you described from the earlier tours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was Michael equally involved in the decision making as it related to the music and the effects and the lighting and all the relevant details?
Completely.
So beginning in mid-April of 2009, how often would you see Michael Jackson?
I say in the beginning, maybe 3 to 4 days a week.
And did that increase in regularity at some point?
Yes. Probably to 4 to 5 days it increased to.
And this would be at wherever the rehearsal was being...
At the center stages in Burbank, California.
Sorry. That's where the rehearsals began?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, it's where our creative conversations began.
Okay. So what was, if you could just paint the picture, what was happening at center stages during this initial phase of preparation?
We were having creative conversations, Michael and I, and then Michael and Travis Payne, choreographer, and I, about how we would lay out the production.
Co-creator.
Michael had
several of
music ideas, staging ideas, and we were basically building the show conceptually.
Okay, from scratch?
Yeah, this show was building it from scratch as This Is It. I mean, there would be elements incorporated into this production that Michael had done before, but it was a new show.
Okay. And beginning in mid-April, with these 3 to 4, and eventually increasing to 4 to 5 visits with Michael a week, can you please describe his demeanor and his level of involvement in the preparations?
Yes, he was very excited and just convinced that this was the time. He had great reason to do it, and believed that we had the potential to do something really important and wonderful.
And did he specifically relay to you reasons why he thought this was now the right time to do a tour of this magnitude?
Sure.
What did he tell you?
He had many sort of reasons, but I would say the most important reasons were that he wanted to share what it is that he loved all of his life with his children. And he wanted to do it for his fans who had been loyal to him and who he cared deeply about, who he loved very much. And he also wanted to do it because he thought now more than ever that his music applied to our world situation. Earth Song, Will You Be There, Heal the World, and other songs, and he wanted to use the stage as a platform to remind people of the importance of us doing whatever we can to take care of this planet and each other.
And he relayed this to you?
Absolutely.
What did he tell you about his desire to put on a production of this magnitude for his children? What did he share with you in that regard?
Just that he was excited that they were fans of his work, becoming big fans of his work, and that now they were of an age where they could really appreciate what it is that he did, and so he felt now was an opportunity for him to be able to share it with them.
During the rehearsal stage at center stages, and after center stages, where did the rehearsal move to?
We moved from center stages to the Forum,
okay,
and from the Forum to the Staples Center.
Okay. And did the children, and I'm referring specifically to Prince and Paris and Blanket, did they attend any of these rehearsals to your knowledge?
No.
Okay. Was there a reason they did not attend the rehearsals?
Michael was waiting to bring them to see the shows in London and wanted them to focus on their schooling.
And did Michael plan on bringing them on tour to London?
Yes. Yes, he talked about them a lot.
The objection is overruled. The first part of the answer, yes, remains. Everything thereafter is stricken. Disregard the remainder of the answer.
And the children would no longer be in school during the summer months of the tour?
Correct.
Now, about the fans, you said the other reason was for the fans. Did he express those thoughts to you specifically?
Yes, he actually was letting the fans vote on the material, the music material that they wanted in the show, that they wanted, as a part of the show. He had an incredible relationship with his fans all over the world, and they with him. And it was very loving and very special, and he wanted to give back to them.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Jones. Dr. Murray's case, the defendant is present with his counsel, the people by their counsel. Mr. Ortega once again is on the stand. All jurors and the alternates are present as well. Good afternoon again. Mr. Ortega, good afternoon again, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Do you acknowledge you are still under oath and still sworn to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Resumption direct. Mr. Walgren?
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time I'd like to play footage from June 23rd, 2009, documenting the song The Way You Make Me Feel.
That's People's 2?
People's 2, Your Honor.
People's 2.
Overruled. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Ortega, have you previously identified this particular track I'm about to play, this particular performance, The Way You Make Me Feel, as the one that was performed on June 23rd, 2009?
Yes.
Yes, we will. I don't know about more than that series. Do you want the other bank?
That's probably good.
Is that okay with the jurors? I hardly see you. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, proceed, Your Honor. Mr. Ortega, I'm going to just play this straight through, and then I may have some follow-up questions of you. rehearsal performance we just saw, that is from June 23rd?
Yes.
Okay. And the dancers that Michael is performing with, what is their average age?
18 to 24.
And did that video clip there accurately reflect Michael's kind of demeanor, overall demeanor that night as you described on June 23rd?
That night, yes.
Okay. And off camera, there was, at the end, there was a voice being heard. It sounded like your voice. Was that you?
Yes.
Okay. And at the point where Michael is speaking and he appears to look behind him and he says something, words of the effect of, "That's okay, that's why we rehearse." Did you hear that?
Yes.
To whom is he speaking? Do you know?
He's talking to the band leader.
Okay.
He's talking to Michael Bearden, the band leader.
Okay. There was some mistake made or something. He said, "That's okay, that's why we rehearse."
Yes, there were a few bars of music that should have been there and they weren't, and Michael was asking them for them back.
Okay. I want to go now to June 24th. If I could have the lights again, please. Thank you. And I do have one question, Mr. Ortega. This performance from June 24th, 2009 of Earth Song, was this in fact Michael's last performance of any kind on stage?
It was a rehearsal, and it was his last rehearsal.
See, Jonah?
What have we done to the world? Look what we've done. What about all the peace that you pledged your only son? What about flooring filled